Yeah, good morning everyone. So yesterday we learnt about few array manipulations. So we discussed how to declare array, how to store data in array, how we can access the data from array, various array methods and various iteration related statements we learned for accessing data from array. There are so many methods for fetching the data. We have toString, we have join, we have slice, we have find, filter. Another one is map and for each. We saw various methods and explicit iterators. Explicit iterators we are having for in and for off. For off. Difference: for in is used to read all keys properties, and for off is for all values. So now the important concept is, after reading, how do we present them? That is the key concept. So you are reading the elements from an array. How do you present them in the HTML page? So presentation is important. For that, we need to learn some technical concept. So today we will see dynamically creating HTML elements. So how we can dynamically create HTML elements? This is important. That is the key concept actually. Dynamically creating HTML elements. So because we have to read elements from an array and we have to present those elements. That means, for example, I'm just giving you the point. Example is, suppose we have a array. So we have some Delhi header bar like this. Now we need to bring these elements, and what we need to do is, we want to create a drop down. We want to create a drop down. In this drop down, the list should be those elements. That means what is present in the array, those elements must be inside drop down. Now the question is, to add these elements in drop down. So in drop down, how elements are added? In drop down, the elements are added as an option. Am I right? So this is a select. This is a select. So now what you have to do, for every item, you have to create one option. And you have to add this option into drop down list. You have to add that. So that means here two works you have to do. Create element and add that elements to its parent. Right? That is the process. How you will create an element dynamically. That means I am not talking about creating an option in HTML. In HTML, we create elements by using tags, tokens. Dynamically, that means through JavaScript, we have to create one button. Through JavaScript, we have to create one image, or we have to create one table and add that to page dynamically. You may ask, like, why we need dynamically to create elements? This is one situation. Another situation is, for example, you see, suppose in websites, they give some upload photo, and for that they will give a text box and they will give some browse button. Browse. Now you what you do, you click browse, select the photo. Suppose you want to upload more photos, then actually what they do, they give beside more button. When I click this more button, another browse button will come. That means this element is created dynamically according to requirement. For example, you see some application forms. They say that select which ID you are uploading. Is it driving license, or is it some photo voter ID or some Aadhaar card? When you select driving license, immediately a form will come below which contains information about details of driving license. And that form will change automatically when you select some other photo ID. Have you observed? That means a form is not having standard elements, because voter ID is different, so and Aadhaar is different, and driving license is different. That means dynamically the elements can change. Then how do you do that? So how to create elements, how to add elements, that is the concept. For that we have to follow this process. First point, HTML element can be created in JavaScript by using the DOM method. We have to use the DOM method, document.createElement. You have to use document.createElement and token name. Token name is nothing but tag name, ID, node name. We have to give the node name. Element name, token name means usually it is the node name for element. Node name for element means, suppose we want a paragraph, then it will be P. If we want an image, then it will be IMG. No angle brackets. We don't have any angle brackets, just name. That is the node name. So HTML element can be created in JavaScript by using the DOM method, document.createElement. So suppose I want to create a image, then document.createElement, create element img. Like this you need to define. Suppose you want to create a button or an option or a list item or a table. Any element can be created by using this method. Next important, second, you created the element. It is present in memory of browser. Which memory? What is the memory reference name? There is no memory reference name. Then how you will access this element? So you created an element. It is loaded into the memory, somewhere in memory. Then how you will access? Then what you have to define is assign a memory reference for newly created element. Assign a memory reference for newly created element. That is the first important thing. Otherwise, you can't access that element that you created. That means how to assign memory for that. That means var pick is equal to document dot create element img. This is the right way. That means an image is created and that image can be accessed with reference of what? Pick. That pick is a variable name. You can give any name, XYZ, ABC, anything name. It doesn't matter. It's a name. Right? So, assign a memory reference for newly created element. Okay. So, element is created and we can access it now. Now remember, the newly created element name is not img. It reference name we have to use. Reference name is pick. So pick is what type? Image type. It is an element type. Element. Which element? That is image. Image. Okay. Created. After that, next what? You create after that. You have to define the properties for that element. How much width, how much height, what text. That means you have to configure the properties for element. Remember here, so you cannot use attributes. You cannot use attributes. You have to use only properties. Almost every attribute is same as property, but some changes will be there. For example, what are image attributes we are having? Main attributes, alt, src, width, height, border, we discussed, na? ID, name, class, we can use. So, we can define pic.src is equal to some images, some name.jpg, like this. Then pic dot some width is equal to some width 450, that is the width, and pic dot height is equal to some 300. Like this you can define. But very important, these are called properties here. In HTML we call them as attributes. All attributes of HTML are almost same name they have, but one or two will change. For example, we have to apply some CSS class. If you want to apply some CSS class, pic dot class, we cannot use that word. Why? Because in JavaScript already class is a keyword. You cannot use it. Then how to apply a CSS class? Then we have to use class name is equal to some CSS name, CSS class name. You have to apply like this. You cannot use the word class. Almost all same we use. But some keywords, if they are matching, then you have to use a different. The different is we have some reserved names, you have to use them. How do you apply the classes? Classes are applied by using a property called what? Class name. Class name. Okay, so element is created. Element is defined with all attributes, properties. Now element is ready. Now you need to add this element to page. So that means the final stage now, the final stage is add element into page. Where to add? That you have to decide. Because in page means where in page? Header, footer, section, main, aside, article, div, span, paragraph, heading, where you want to add. You have to tell the location. That means there must be some parent where you have to add this, right? For example, suppose you see here, adding element to page, how you can add? You can add any dynamic element. You can add any dynamic element using the DOM method. We have a DOM method called append child. By using the DOM method append child. By using the DOM method append child, we have to use the method called append child. So this is used to finally add your element into page. Append child means add child. Who is child? Pick. And who is parent? Page means in page what? Where? That you have to tell. For example, suppose in our page we are having a figure. Figure is used for keeping images. Now into that figure, I want to add the new pic I created. Then how? First we have to access this figure. Document dot what? I will use query selector because it is not having any ID and all. And what is the name? Figure. So it is going to access that element. If it is having ID, use ID. ID, other selectors we already know. Okay, that is parent. Into this we need to add the picture. That means we have to use the method append child. And what is the child element name? Child element name means its memory reference name. Memory reference name is pic. That's it. Append child. That's how we have to add. Now you are creating element. You are defining attributes and properties for that element. And you are adding the element on page. When to do all this? When to do all this? That also you have to tell. That means when to add an image into page. You have to tell an event. Event means on button click or on page load. You have to tell event, because without event any action will not trigger. Actions will trigger only on particular events. You have to tell when to do all this. That means an event is mandatory for this. So what is the keynote here? You have to configure all the functionality using specific event in page. You have to configure all the functionality using specific event in page. You can use different events like, so on load, like on click, so on change. We can use different events, because usually up to now we learned only few of these events. We can do that. How do you configure the elements and define the elements? So functionality using the specific elements, these are all the options. Let's do this and see how it works, right? So we will open our project, and in this flip, yeah, in this we will just create here. Already it is open, right? Now see what we are doing is, I will give a button. So load image. Okay. Below that I have a figure element. This figure element is present. Now what I will do, just break I will give. Okay. So a 2-line break. And on this button click, so we are writing on click, load click. Okay. Let's write a script here. So function load click. So what I want to do on load click is when user clicks on that load image, I want an image below. I want an image below. So, but important is there is no img at all, right? There is no image element in our page. Sometimes what people do, they keep an image element already. Into that they will just put the source. But no, I have to create element only when it is necessary. Keeping all elements without need of those elements will be heavy on page. Element must be created only when it is required. Then what we will do is on load click here, first step, you see the steps I given. We have to create an element and assign to some memory. So var pick is equal to document dot what, create element. Which element? Img. These are HTML element names. Exactly, you have to mention in the same way. Okay, reference name, anything you can give. Any reference name you can give. Okay, now for this image, pic.src is equal to dot dot slash public slash images slash some fashion one dot jpg. That is the image I am giving. Okay, pic dot width is equal to some 200 pixel. Okay, pixel not required because it is not style. In HTML value is enough. Huh? Pic dot height is equal to some 300. Width and height. Okay, image is ready. You can add all attributes, whatever you want, alt, border, anything you want. Now this image must be added into figure. Na? So how to access? Document dot what? Query selector. What it is? Figure. Into the figure container, we have to append child. It can be a div also. But for pictures, we have a special element. We are using that. And append child. Which one? Pic. That's it. And you can see that now. When I click on load image, it will get that. So observe the code here. Let's inspect. In the inspect, let's inspect the HTML code. In the body section, figure is actually empty. So there is nothing inside this figure. And you see now, when I click load image, a new element is created. You see img is created inside it. And it will add dynamically. So dynamically creating the elements, adding elements into the page. This is the basic thing you have to know in order to understand the concept of arrays now. Because we have to use this technique for adding elements. I will copy this. Okay, now I will ask you a simple thing. You tell me how to do that. Now, what I want to do is, when user clicks that button, load click, yeah. Here, I will keep a div or say now, okay? Okay, so load now. Okay. Now, when user clicks on load now, I have to create an unordered list inside this now. Unordered list I have to create. Unordered list is UL. UL is unordered list. In unordered list, can we directly keep anything? You cannot. So in order to keep anything in unordered list, we have to create one more element. What is it? List item, li. So that means we have to create list item, add this list item to unordered list, add that unordered list into now. Tell me how to do that now. First, we are creating an UL. How to create an UL? Document dot create element. What it is? UL, unordered list. Okay. Next, we have to create 2 or 3 items. That means where li1, because these are variable names, li1 document dot create element. Which element it is? Li. Where li2 document dot create element, it is what? Li. All are li only na, but reference is 1 and 2. Okay, what we have to display inside it? Li1 dot value or what? Because it is a container. Div, spans, list items, they are containers na? Containers means we have to use inner HTML or we have to use inner text. I will use inner HTML, and in that I will display HTML, that is text. li2 dot inner HTML I will display as some JavaScript. Like this we are creating. Okay, 2 elements are ready. Now these 2 elements we cannot add directly into now, because who is their parent? Unordered list. So we have to add these list items into unordered list first. So who is the parent? UL. UL dot what? Append child. li1 first child. After that again UL dot append child, that is li2. 2 elements are added. Okay, still it is not ready. Now this unordered list we have to add into now. That means how do we access the now? Document dot what? Query selector now. Now dot what? Append child. Which one to add? UL. And you can see now, I click on load now, it will display. Means how many times I click, it will be adding. Right? We can make it add only once or twice, like that. We can do that. So this is dynamically adding the elements into the page. Elements into the page. Creating element. Now remember, if you have to create a complete parent-child hierarchy, it will take a lot. Generally, for majority of JavaScript interviews, what they do is they say that create a table dynamically and show me. They will give you some data and they will say that create one table dynamically and put this data in that. And if you can do that, then you are selected. That's enough, because it's very complex. Creating a table, putting the data into table dynamically is very complex, because table is a big hierarchy na. Table, T head, T body, in again T body, TR, TD. So much complexity will be there. We will do that here. We will see. Right? This is another example of dynamically adding elements. This I showed you just to make you understand how elements can be created dynamically. Independent elements, parent-child elements, combinations I showed you, right? Now let's see how this works for our array. That means now what we are going to see is presenting array elements in HTML page. Presenting array elements in HTML page. How you can present array elements in HTML page? What are the basic things here? So first, what are the phases we are having is, so use any iterator for reading all elements from array. Use any iterator for reading all elements from array. To read all elements from array, we have a lot of iterators. We can use map, or we can use like what, for each. So we can use find, filter, but find, filter, all these what, based on condition. To read all elements, what is the best option? We have a find, map. Map is used for reading all elements. We have iterators. Use any iterator for reading all elements from array or any specific elements from array. Then you can use find or filter, like that. So you can use anything. You can use for in, for off. You can try any explicit iterators also. Any explicit iterator also you can do. Okay. After that, what we have to do? So in every iteration, create a new element using DOM method. In every iteration, you have to create a new element using DOM method. How to create a new element using DOM method? Just now we saw document dot what, create element. Then another one, in every iteration, set properties for new element. You have to set the properties for new element. After that, in every iteration, inside every iteration, append to its append the child element to its parent. This is the correct way of presenting an array. So all the work you have to do in iteration. In every iteration, create element. In every iteration, set property. In every iteration, add that to the parent. Let's see how this works now. Now, what we will do is, we will write like this. I will just use the technique now. Here, let's keep the syntax first. Okay, you see, we are having values as an array. 10, 20, 30, some values are present. Now what I have to do, read all the values and add every value as a list item. As a list item, you have to add the value and add that into an ordered list or unordered list. If you already created an ordered list, into that add it. Or if you don't create an order list, you can create an order list also. Right? We can do that. Now see here, suppose there is already an OL. We are already having an OL. Into that OL, these three numbers must be added. So how do we do that? First step, what we have to do, use an iterator for reading all elements. So we will use an iterator, values dot what, map. Map uses a function, it will collect a value. This already we know. Okay, next, this is going to read every value. Okay, what is second step? In every iteration, create a new element. That means this is the iterator. Na? It will iterate how many times? 3 times, depending on how many values are there in the collection. For every iteration, we have to create a list item. Because we need to add into ordered list. Na? To add into ordered list, we have to create a list item. That means we will create a list item. Document dot create element. Create element li. How many list items will be created now? This will repeat 3 times. That means 3 list items will create. Okay. What should be list item inner HTML? In the list item inner HTML, assign the value. That means in first list item, it will be 10. Am I right? And after that, second list item 20, 30. Okay. After that, add this, the final stage. In every iteration, append the child element into parent. That means we have to add this list item into parent. Who is the parent? Document dot query selector. Query selector is what? Ordered list. Ordered list dot what? Append child. Which one? Li. So it will do this work 3 times. That means first time it will create a list item and put 10 and it will add it. After that, second time another list item 20, then add it. This is going to repeat how many number of times? That depends on how many elements are present. That is the advantage. Actually, if I use a loop, you can use loops also. For loop, while loop, do while. Then loop means you have to write condition. That means where to start, where to stop, I less than length of array. That's all nonsense for JavaScript. Right? In JavaScript, we don't waste time in all that. And that is highly recommended also. That means in the modern JavaScript, we never use any for loops and all for wasting the time in this all. Best option is use iterators. So that is the best way. They are built in and they are very fast in performance, right? So let's do this now. I will remove this. Okay. You see, I will create a simple OL. Okay. And here load data. Okay. And globally, I will create an array called categories. It is having all, it is having electronics, it is having like footwear, it is having like fashion, like this. Now what should happen on load click? We have to read every category and add into ordered list. You can tell that now. What is it? Categories dot what? Map. Map uses a callback function, and this callback function will read every category. It will read every category. For every category, we have to create a list item. Document dot what? Create element. What? Li. And li dot inner HTML. It is what? Category. Category is the name. Whatever element comes, right? And append this document dot query selector. We have to access OL. To that OL, we have to append child. Which one? Li. That's it. Now you see what happens when I click on that button. It's closed. Huh? Okay. So I run this and I click on load data. It will load the data. So it is going to access the data and display. So you can add in anything. For example, I have a select. Select is a drop down. Now into that drop down, I want to add these things. Now tell me, the same iterator I can use, na? The same iterator I can use, right? In the same iterator, what we have to do? We have to add into a drop down. Into a drop down, can you add any element directly? No. Into a drop down, to add any element, it should be an option. So first what we have to do? We have to create an option. Document dot create element. What it is? Option. Okay. Into option, how to define the values? Now tell me, in HTML, how many attributes option is having? In HTML, what are the attributes option is having? Option is having 4 attributes. One is text, another one value, another one selected, another one disabled. Remember, right? So that is very important. I already told you why so depth of HTML is required for you, because you can't handle JavaScript without that. Many people are excited about JavaScript. When we start HTML, many people come and ask, sir, when you will start JavaScript? As if he is already genius in his HTML, right? And when we start JavaScript, he don't know anything of HTML first properly, because JavaScript is all about manipulating HTML. You are not a JavaScript developer if you are not perfect in your HTML. You can't do anything. You have to remember all the basic of HTML elements, their attributes. That is what we have to use here, right? You should remember them. So what attributes it will contain. So into option, we don't use inner HTML, because option have properties. I told you difference between text and value. Text means what it shows, value means what it submits, and every option have different text, different values. And you can use selected attribute. Selected means whenever page loads, automatically it will be selected. We can use disabled attribute. Disabled means it will not allow to select. Those are all properties. So what we have to do, option dot what? Text. Option text must be category. Okay. Option value also category. That means what you see and what you submit, both are same. If there is different, we can give a different one. That you can do later in object. Now selected, disabled, we don't want to give anything. So what we will do now, option is ready. Add this option into document dot what? Query selector. What it is? Select. Into that what? Append child. Which one? Option. That's it. Now you can see that when I click on load data, both are ready. This is also ready. That means now items are added into a drop down dynamically. They are added into a drop down dynamically. Now I will give you more complex task. More complex task is, so I have to create a list, all electronics, so footwear, so fashion, like that. And for everyone, there should be a checkbox. There should be a checkbox, right? For everyone, there should be a checkbox. We want a checkbox for them. How do you create this? Now for that, first in HTML, you should get an idea how it is designed in HTML. How it is designed in HTML, like this I showed you, na? I showed you that we can create a checkbox list. In forms concept, I explained. How do we do that to create this? Usually we use an unordered list. In that unordered list, we use a list item. In that list item, we have a input type is what? Checkbox. And beside that input type checkbox, it will have a label. In that label, it will have like the word all. Am I right? Like this, we have to create every list item. Now this you have to do in JavaScript dynamically. Understood? Now lot of work is there. Now what you have to create? You have to create ordered list. Already will be there. We will keep an ordered list ready. Okay. Now you have to create a list item. And you have to create a input. That input you have to mention as what? Checkbox. You have to create a label. After that, what should happen is, remember this input and label, these two need to be added into list item. Understood? That means we have to create a separate label. We have to create a separate input. Add these two into list item. This list item must be added into unordered list. That is the hierarchy. If you cannot plan your presentation in HTML, then forget about JavaScript. That means you can't present, because first you should know what HTML takes. That you have to create dynamically now, right? Let's see how do we do this, right? I will use here UL, unordered list, a UL, unordered list. But I don't want symbol for that. Then okay, we will put a style, and unordered list, we will put list style. List style as what? None. So that symbols will not be there for that. Okay. Now I can use the same map. I can use the same map, right? I can define the same map, because we have to read all elements from the array. I can use the same map in the map. Now what to create? First, we have to create a list item, but this time list item for unordered list. So where unordered list, list item, document dot what, create element li. Even it is unordered list, list item, it is li. Ordered list, unordered list, li. Okay. Next what? We have to create a label. That means where label is equal to document dot what, create element, what it is, label. Okay. We have to create a input, where input, document dot what, create element, what it is, input. Okay, fine. We have list item, we have label, and we have input. Now the question is, input means all are input only, text box, check box, radio. Then how it becomes a checkbox? How that input becomes a checkbox? So we have to define input dot type is equal to what? Checkbox. That is what the type. Okay. After that, so input is ready. Input type is checkbox. Do you want any value for that? So then we can give input dot what? Value. Value is what? Value is category. Am I right? The category will be the value. When submits, that category name will be submitted. Okay. Input is ready. Now inside label, we have to display category. That means we have to access label dot inner HTML. We have to display what? Category. Okay. Label is ready. Input is ready. Which one to add first into unordered list? List item. Remember, this label and input must be added to list item. No? That means we have to use unordered list, list item into that what? Append child. Which one to add first? Order is also important. If you add label first, label will be left side. Checkbox will be right side. Which one add to first, second? That order also important. First one, which one we want to add? Input. That means append what? Input. What is the second one we have to append? Append child. What is the second one? Label. Okay. Now the list item ready. Add this list item to unordered list. Document dot what? Query selector, unordered list dot what? Append child. Unordered list, list item. And you can see now, I click on this load data and a checkbox list will come. That's how dynamically we create. These kind of complex things are tested for JavaScript people in regular interviews. Actually, we have full stack batches and all. So generally we are having a full stack batch. We have some 6 p.m. batch is there and 11 a.m. batch is there. In that we just finished HTML, CSS, Bootstrap. And 2 people already placed in companies with minimum average package of 4 lakh. With only HTML, CSS. So that means what they asked in interview, they came to me and they said that one placed in Mumbai, another in Hyderabad. And they said that they asked directly when they walk in as a fresher, they are freshers, right? They walk in as fresher, then they asked that they given two designs and they asked us to create. But we done only HTML, CSS. But we learned HTML, CSS along with HTML. We created a lot of designs. So they were able to create those designs very easily. And interviewers are very much impressed because with only HTML, CSS, you can do this. That's very good, right? Then they said frankly that we haven't finished our JavaScript. It's still going on. Then they said that this is enough. We will train you on JavaScript. You finish your course simultaneously. You can join. That means in UI designing, front-end development, and even you are a Java developer, remember, majority you have to work in the front-end first. The first career, your career starts as a front-end designers. Directly, they will not put you in complex Java roles. Remember, even you are a Java or .NET developer, for at least 1-2 years, you have to work in the front-end only. Until or unless your skills are very exceptional and you are very great and good in your database and Java, then they will put you in Java roles, but very rare. Almost every Java, .NET developers, everybody's, the first job placement will be working on front end. Even you are a Java developer, you will be working on front end because they can't trust and directly give you complex roles of application designing, because front end is less problems, because they give complex work in the back end to you and you disturb something, it will have a lot of effect. Until or unless you gain experience in project environment, they will not put you in such roles. At least for 5 months, 6 months, you have to work as front end only, compulsory. That's the reason they will test all presentation skills from you. They will give you some data and say that, can you present this in this way? If you can do that, that's good enough. Right? That's the reason you should be very perfect in understanding this presentation. How do we read the data? How do we create elements and add them into the page? Hierarchies are very important. You should practice them. Right? So this is, once, remember, this data is very plain. It is just an array of string. Later we will get complex data, array of JSON type, which has lot of complexity that we can present. We'll see tables and all how to design. So I hope everybody understood this, right? So I will copy this now. I will paste it here. Okay. So this is an example. Okay. One more I will show so that I can give all in one example. I am designing here a table. Table will have a border and table is having suppose width as 200. Table is already having T head, TR and TH. So categories. Okay. And below this T body. Now what I want is all the categories must be added into the table body. That means all the categories list must be added into table body. Now tell me what are the elements we have to create for this. They must be added in the table body here. So this is T body now. Into T body we have to add those elements. Then what you have to create? In table body directly you can add anything? No. You have to create one TR. Am I right? TR is row. And in that row, you have to create a cell. That means first you have to create one cell. As of now, only one cell. Later, several cells may come, right? As of now, one cell. You have to create a cell, add this cell to row, add this row into table body. That is the hierarchy we have to follow. Let's see that. That means now what should I do in the same iterator? So we will create what? So we will create a TR, document dot what? Create element. Create element is what? tr. Okay. After that, we have to create td. Document dot create element td. td dot inner html. We will display what? Category. And add this td into tr. tr dot what? Append child td. And add this into table body. Document dot what? Query selector. Query selector. And we have to use what? Table body. Table body dot append child. Which one? tr. Now you can see that table rows and cells are ready. It's creating a table also dynamical. But it is just having only one cell. You can add multiple columns if data is complex later. This is the way of presenting the data. Accessing the data from array and presenting. This is the example. I will give this example for your reference. This is all the option. Now, if you know this, then we can work with arrays in a more better way. That's what we will see now, right? All this is about reading the data from array and presenting, right? That is the concept you learned about array. Now, next important, after reading and presenting the data, you have to learn adding elements into array. How you can add elements into array. Generally in your Java, what methods you have to add elements into array? Similar type of methods you will have here also. We have a method called push. Push is used for, so it adds new elements. It adds new elements into array as last elements. That means one or many, plural, right? So it adds new element into array as last element. Similarly, you have unshift. So it adds new element into array as first element. We have splice. It adds new elements into array at specific position. Anywhere you want, then you have to use splice. If you use push, the element will be added as last. If you use unshift, it will be added as first. So here, syntactically, suppose I will do like this. Suppose we are having where menu is an array, and into this array we have some electronics. Only one is there. Now what I do is menu dot push, and I am adding, suppose, footwear, like this. You can add one or you can add many. One or many you can add, depends on your requirement. Now what will do? That means now array contains electronics and footwear. Footwear is added as last item. Am I right? If I use menu dot unshift all, then where it is going to add? Here also you can give many if you want. These will add at the starting. That means all and electronics, and we have what? Footwear. That means you can add as first item, you can add as last. You want to add as first item, then you have to use what? Unshift. Now we have menu dot splice. Here I give as 1 and comma 0 and comma kids, or you can add many also. This is nothing but it will add all. After that it will add kids. After that it will add electronics, and after that it will be footwear. Like this it will add. That means what is actually splice? So splice uses start index, delete count, and items. What are the items you want to add? That's what you have to define. Start index means from which element you have to use. Delete count means how many elements you want to delete from there. Zero means what? Zero means we are not deleting anything, right? And you have to mention it compulsory. In splice, you have to mention, because you are adding at one. At one already some element is there. At one already some element is there. If you say zero, it indicates that don't do anything. Just add. Delete count 0. That means don't delete anything, just add it. If I say here 1, what will happen? At one position, how many elements are there? One element is there. It will remove that and it will add this element. Without removing, we have to add. We can remove 2 elements from there. We can remove 3 elements from there. But without removing any element, we have to add. Then we have to use what? 0. That is the syntax given here clearly. Right? Delete count. How many you want to delete? Right? You have to mention that. This is we usually adding elements from an array. Into an array, how you can add. You see now already our array is present. For example, in this array, I will just use this all. I will remove. I will just put only electronics. So I will remove all this roughly. And you see when I click on load, only one will load. Only electronics is going to load. Now I want to add on load click. Before loading, it should add one more item. Then we will use categories dot what? Push. Push fashion I am adding. Then where this fashion will be added, observe. So as last. Right? We want to add one more as first one. That means what? Categories dot what? Unshift. Unshift is all. Then you can see that it is going to add that in the top. After electronics or at electronics, I want to add something. Then what? Categories dot what? Splice. Splice at which position? 1. How many to delete from there? 0. Don't delete anything from there. So, and add which one? Kids. Kids. Remember, this is a collection, means you can add multiple also. I will show you. You click on that, kids will be added here. Suppose I say delete count 1. What will happen? It will delete electronics and it will add kids. Delete count 1, 2, anything you can define. Right? I don't want to delete anything. That's why we have to define as 0. And remember, I want to add kids and women. 2. You can add multiple, comma, comma. You can add more than one. In push also, you can just keep a comma, another one. Right? That means you can see now at that position, 2 are added now. At that position, it will add 2. Right? That you can do by using these methods. These are actually the methods to add elements into array. To add elements into array, these options we have to do. So another option is there. Example, I will give this. Same example, just we added some extra. Okay. Now similarly, we have another concept about array. That is removing elements from array. How do you remove elements from array? What array methods you are having? Pop is there. Pop. It removes and returns the last element. We have shift. It removes and returns the first element. First element. First element. First element. You have splice. It removes and returns specific element. It is not just element, it can be elements, multiple also. Oh, sorry, this is pop and shift is one only. Last one is S. That means it can element more than one. Splice because it indicates how many to remove from that index. So splice is used in two situations. It is used for adding and it is used for removing. Right. So adding elements, removing elements. Just what you have to do is syntax where categories is an array. So we have like all electronics, like fashion. That's the array we are having. Now, how do we do that? So we just use categories dot pop. Categories dot pop means it will remove the fashion, means it contains only all and it will contain electronics. It will remove the last one. So categories dot shift. Shift will remove the first one. That means you will have only electronics. Another one is fashion. All is removed. Am I right? If you use like that, then another option is there. Categories dot what? Splice. From one index, delete one. That's it. In while adding, one more extra value you given. What is that extra values? Which item to add? But if you don't mention which item to add, then it will become as delete. That means it will remove which one? All, and it will have what? Fashion. Because at one index, what is present? Electronics. It will remove that electronics. So this is removing elements. How do you find any element in array? You can use find method or you can use index of. We learned index of, last index of, we can use them. Index of will return the index number. If element is not found, it will return -1. Right. So those functions are same. Here another one is sorting array. Sorting array elements. How do we sort array elements? Sorting array elements, two methods are present. We have a sort method. So it arranges elements in a ascending order. Ascending order. Reverse. It arranges elements in reverse order, not descending order. Reverse order means from back to top. Then how you will display in descending order? First sort and reverse, then it will be descending. If you sort and reverse, it will be descending, because sort will be in ascending and reverse that ascending order, it will be descending. These are the options. So simply you apply these to your categories. That means just what you do, you have to implement categories. Categories dot what? Sort. We have to use categories dot what reverse. Categories dot sort, categories dot reverse. Right. So that is the option. Now, important here, how you will manage these dynamically. Let's implement a small interaction. Later we will put in real example. Small interaction we will create. Let's see. So the interaction that we will create is here. Let's say array demo HTML. And here I will create a simple page. So array, and let's link relation is style sheet. And the href, it is node modules, bootstrap icons. I am using bootstrap icons and bootstrap. Relation style sheet href is node modules. Bootstrap this CSS. Bootstrap dot CSS. Okay. Now in the body we will use container fluid, and here we are creating a heading, say add new element, right? This is, suppose add new city, something. We have a div, and in this div we are keeping a class input group, and we have a text box input type text, and class as form control, and we will keep this as W25 finish form control, and placeholder as so city name. Okay, and beside that we will keep a button, so class btn and btn primary, and I will keep as add. Okay, so this is the basic appearance we are having. We have an add city option, so you can enter the new city name and you can define. Now below this I will keep another div, and here we will put a class margin top 3. In this we will keep a label and cities list, so I will put a class form weight bold. Okay, and below that label we will keep a div and a select class as a form select, and here I will put as size as 3. Then it is not a drop down, it becomes a list box. Here also W25. Now this is a list box we are having. Now what we need to do here is for this label we also have a form label. Fine. Now below this we are adding, below or above, anywhere. Yeah, above this we will add a div, and we will put a button class bi sort alpha down, and btn suppose success sort alpha down. Okay, like this we are having, and this is having a class margin top 3 or margin bottom 3 or 2. Okay, it's fine. That is nothing but this is a sort button. We added a sort button here. Okay, I will use another button, and let's say sort alpha up. Okay, you have different button here. ascending, descending order buttons we are adding. And below this, we will keep another div, and we will put a label. And remember, for this text box, we'll give IDs later. Yeah, for this label, I'll just put class form. This is form label and font weight bold. And ID, it is having LBL count. Okay. Below that, I will keep another div. And this will have class margin top 2. And this is also having class margin top 2. Now, what should happen here? We keep a button with a span class bi trash fill. And we say here remove city. So we have another one, trash. This is clear all. So clear all. Like this we are adding. And these buttons will have class BTN and BTN danger. And class BTN, BTN danger. Okay. This is the design we created. That's the design. Now we need to make it work. That means now user can add a city. User can enter city name. He clicks on add, then that must be added into list box. And user clicks this button, it should sort. This button descending. And this button should remove the city. This button should remove all cities. We have to implement this functionality now. Now, where the data comes from? The data comes from an array. Let's create this and see now. So I will add here, first thing, every element needs an ID now. Text box will have an ID, txt city. Okay. And drop down will have an ID, LBL cities. This is having already LBL count. LBL count. Okay. Now what we do is, we will create a script. In the script, we will create a function. First, we will put some basic rules here. I will just add. Type is text JavaScript. Okay. And here we are defining an array called cities. In this, by default, I will add 2 cities. And what we have to do is, we have to load these cities into that list box. How to load the cities into list box already just now you learned. We have to create an option, add by using map. But loading cities into list box is done so many times. So many times means, when you add, cities are loaded. When you sort, they are loaded. Descending, they are loaded. Remove, they are loaded. Because after removing any item, it should load the new list again and show. So loading cities into list box is done so many times. Then we will create a function called load cities. This function, whenever we call, it will load the cities. But unfortunately, what will happen? Already, if some cities are loaded, it will add the new list again to them. That means what should happen? If old list is present, clean up and add the new list. So document dot query selector, not query selector, we will use get element by ID. Get element by ID. What is that? LST what cities? LST cities is list box. LST cities inner HTML, we will make it empty. Why we have to make it empty? If you don't make it empty, the new list will be added to the existing list. Every time the list will be continuously growing. It should not be like that. It should replace. Then you have to remove it first, right? Okay. After that, how to read all cities? Cities dot what? Map. By using a function, we can read all the cities. Okay, now for every city I need to add into list box, then we have to create an option. What is it? Document dot create element. What is it? Option. Okay, after that, option dot text is equal to city. Option dot value is equal to city. Okay, option is ready. This option must be added into drop down. That means what we have to do, document dot get element by id lst cities dot what, append child. Append child, which one? Option. That is ready. This is loading. And one more work I want to do in this function is how many cities are present. I want to show the count. I will access a label I kept, document dot get element by id lbl count is there. In inner html I will display total number of cities. How many are there? We have to just use cities dot what, length. It will display total number of cities, how many. Now first what I want to do is I want to load all the cities at the time of body load. Means by default the cities must be there. Then we will write a script. We will write a function. What is the function? Body load. On body load, load cities. And when this body load should work, when the page is loaded. For page load, what is the event we write? On load. On load is what? Body load. That means when page loads, by default cities must be available there. So it is not there. What? Some issue is there. Some reference error may be there. Right. Let's check. What is the reference error it is showing? It is saying that cannot set load cities. That means some spelling mistake is there. What is this LBL cities? Fine. What is the drop down name? Drop down name is not LBL cities. It should be what? LST cities. LST cities is the drop down name. Okay. Spelling wrong. Right. Fine. Now you can see those two cities are already present and count is also there. That means total number of cities are how many? 2. Okay. By default, you see 2 cities are available in the list box. Now load is ready. When user enters any name in text box and clicks this add button, that city must be added into the list. So what we will do? So we will write a click event for that button. Where is that button? Add. Add button click. On click. Add click. So we will write a function add click. We have to write the function here. Function. What it is? Add click. On add click, first we have to collect the city name entered in text box. Document dot get element by id. What it is? txt city dot what? Value. The text box value. After that, push this city into the array. What is the array name? Cities. Cities dot what? Push. Push which one? City name. Okay, that is added. After pushing, load the new cities. That means we have to call load cities function. Load cities function is going to update that information. You see now, I entered the new city name. So I am entering new city name. I click on add, then it is added. That new city is added into list. After adding, I want to show alert added. And after that, I want to clean up this city in the text box. That's all we have to implement. That means what you have to do after push alert. I will put an alert saying that the city name added successfully. That's what we are giving. Okay. After that, we will do one more work. Document dot get element by id txt city dot value is empty. That means we will clean up the value that we entered recently. That means now see what happens. I entered the name and click on add. It says Goa added successfully. Then say okay, it is added. So we are having the new list into this. We are having new. I entered anything again, some Mumbai I am adding. So I click on add. Then it says added successfully and say okay. And it is present here. Now count is also updated. Total number of cities, how many are there? 4. It's displaying the count. Remember, everything requires logic. Simply every concept will not work. I already told you so many times. For every concept, lot of scenarios are required. Means every module designing in software development contains hundreds of algorithms. As a software developer in real time, you have to follow all those algorithms. That means for every problem, hundreds of algorithms are present. Means we call them as test cases. You have to pass all 100 test cases. Any one failure, then it will not work. 100 test cases means what? This is not finished. Lot of problems will be there here. Right? What is the problem? For example, if I entered again Goa, then you see it is added again. These are all the cases. That means generally you see when you finish a course, after finishing the course, you will ask, sir, my sir will teach a project to us. How many days in that project will be? Suppose you finished Java. In Java, they will teach one project. How many days it will be? Some 10 days, 15 days or 1 month, one project you have done. That means in 1 month you done a project. Seriously, you are such a genius that you done a project in just 1 month. Then why software companies take 4 years, 3 years? You are genius than them. Then software company can remove everybody and appoint you. You one person enough, 1 month, one project. Seriously? So the point here is, in that project that you are designing, you will not follow all these scenarios. You will just learn how to implement what you learned. But in real-time project, for every concept, 100 scenarios will be there. Means 100 test cases. Everything should pass. That means if he enters like this, what should happen? If he enters same name, what should happen? If he changes capitalization, what should happen? If he enters from somewhere else, what should happen? Everything we have to write. That's the reason designing a functionality takes days of time. Days of time. Because every condition we have to match. Every test case we have to match. Right? Do you know these days coding platforms are there? Coding platforms, what you do, you can practice coding. They will tell issues saying that this is missing in your code. Have you tried? If you tried, they will show that. Do you know, to create one problem for you in Java, the person in that platform, they have to invest at least 1 day for one problem. To create you an exercise. Because every line that you write, he need to verify, validate, and write the test cases for that. It will take a lot of time. Right? It's not easy. Right? That is the reason everything is not perfect here now. Lot of issues will be there. Everything we have to address. Now tell me how to prevent the element to add if it is already available. If city is already available, it should not add. How do you check this city is already available or not before you push it? How do you do that? Before you push, you have to verify. Then what we do is, we will first get the city index. How to get the city index? Cities dot index of which city, the city name you entered. That means in text box, which city name you entered, its city index we are picking up. And we will write a condition. If city index is equal to -1, -1 means that city is not there. If it is not there, then do all this work. Then push it show the alert and do all this work. Understood? If it is already there, else if it is already there, then put an alert saying that we will say city name exists. Like this, I will define a name. City name and exists, I will put an alert. If it is not there, then you have to add. That's the condition how you write. That means now see, I'm adding Hyderabad again. I click on add, then it says city exists. And it is not going to add it again. I added something else. So something else I added. Then click on add, then it says add. Oh. What is problem? Some issue is there again. What is the issue? Something missed. City, acha, spelling gone. Where is that? City name. 29. Here we have N is missing. Right. Fine. Now you see here, I'm adding a city here, Hyderabad. Then it says city exists. I'm adding some other city, some Mumbai, and click on add. Then it is added successfully. Right. That is how we implement. Now, what do you think? It is perfect? Not yet perfect. Why? Because suppose if I add Mumbai in small letters, then click on add, it is added again. That's what the consequences. Hundreds of cases will be there. Hundreds of cases will be there. For every case we have to write. Right? It's not like simply you write one logic and say this is working. Because if you don't satisfy all the cases, then it leads to loopholes in your application. Hacking. They can easily hack your application because there are certain loopholes in your application. Gaps are there. Right? So this is working fine. Now removing everything is simple. Suppose I will use this one. When I click on this, it should sort ascending. When I click on this, it should sort descending. Let's write the logic. That means which button? First button. What we have to do? On click. Sort ASC. I will use ASC. Okay, function. On this click, what should happen? Sort DSC. Okay. Let's write the functions here. These functions are quite simple. Function sort ASC. What it should do? Cities dot sort. After sorting, load cities. It should load after sorting. Same option, another one. What is it? Function sort DSC. Here first what it should do is cities dot sort. It will be ascending order. After that, cities dot reverse. It will be in descending order. Descending order. So then we have to load cities. That's important. Now you see, now I'm adding here city name, some Bangalore, and I say add, the city added successfully. I'm adding another name, some Chennai, and I said add, then you see that is also added successfully into that. 4 cities are there, but order is not there. Then what we will do, simply click on sort, then it will display in sort order. That means B, C, D. I click on the second one, it will be in reverse order. It will be in descending order. We can sort ascending and we can sort descend. Now, how do we remove the city? When I select that and click remove city, that city must be removed. And it is not last city or first city, some selected city. Then we have to use the method called splice. But which city they selected first, we have to get that. That is nothing but list box value. List box that user selected. How to get the list box value? Let's write the button for this remove. So on click is what? Remove click. Okay, we will write another function, on click. On click is what? Clear click. We have 2 functions there. Now what we will do here? So we will write function. What is it? Remove click. Function remove click. On remove click, what should happen? It should remove the selected city. First, how do we get the selected city? Selected city, document dot get element by id lst what cities dot value. That means the selected value in list box. The selected value in list box, it will come. But to remove city, we need its index, na? That means we will get the city index. Document, not this. Cities is an array. In that what? Index of which city? Selected city. Selected city index will come. Now that index remove, we have to remove. Then we have to use cities dot what? Splice. Splice from which index? City index. How many we have to remove from there? 1. Delete count is required now. From that index, how many to remove? 1. You have to define the delete count. And after that, load cities. But before deleting, it should ask, are you sure? Then how? As of now, it will delete immediately. Before deleting, it should ask, are you sure you want to delete? Then what we will do? We will use a flag that contains confirm. Confirm says that, are you sure? I will put a message here. Huh? Are you sure? So want to delete. Are you sure want to delete? Delete whom? Delete that city name. Am I right? The city name. Which city name? Selected city name, right? That means, are you sure you want to delete that selected city? That message it will display. And if flag is equal to true, because you know that confirm will return true on OK and calls on cancel. If it is true, then what should happen? It should remove. Otherwise, don't do anything. Just leave it. Right now, see now, I am adding here. I am adding a city, Mumbai, and say add, it is added, okay. After that, I selected this Hyderabad and say remove city. It is asking, are you sure you want to delete Hyderabad? I said cancel, then it is not deleted. I say remove city, are you sure you want to delete? Okay, okay, then it is removed. Now count is also updated, 2. I selected another one, remove city, then it is removed, then it is 1. I want to remove all the cities, remove city, and you see there is a clear. When I click on clear, all must be removed. How do you delete an array? That means we have to just use one function. Here we are writing another function. What is it? Clear click. On clear click, what we have to do? Cities is an array. In that we will keep empty. We will initialize empty, clean up. Right? Or you can do like this. So cities dot length, you can keep as 0. That means it will delete everything. There are so many techniques. So what we will do, just cities of this one, empty. After that, what we have to do? Load cities. And you see now I click on clear, it will clean up all of them. Right? That is the basic approach. That means I just showed you all the functionality, how we do dynamically with that array. That is the concept of working with array. Right? So once you know this, I will copy this example. You have to try this example on array manipulations. Once you know this, now we will go into complex data. That means now next we are going to understand about JSON. JavaScript objects, how to deal with object type. This non-primitive type, we have an array. Another one is an object. How do we use the JSON type? We will see that. That we'll see in next session. Okay. And next session, tomorrow we'll have a session. Right? Because already we have a holiday on a Monday. This Monday we had a holiday. So we will have a session tomorrow. Okay, na? Same time. Same time. Offline, online, both. How daily happens in the same way. Right? Same way. Tomorrow we will have a session. And if you want, you cannot, you may not come, right? But tomorrow, is very important topic of JavaScript. Because that is JSON, and this is the major topic of JavaScript. So tomorrow we will have a session. Let's see how many interested people will be there. Because tomorrow's topic is the major one in JavaScript. This is even required for your .NET Java like technology, JSON, how to deal with data. That's very important. Tomorrow we will discuss that. Okay, in tomorrow's session we'll continue, right? Yeah.